As a computer science student, I have access to some newer technologies not readily available to the public. One of these technologies, known as GPT-3, is a natural language algorithm created by OpenAI. You may have heard of chatbots such as Amazon's Alexa or Cleverbot or perhaps even Siri on your phone, but GPT-3 is different in that the algorithm is so advanced that it is extremely difficult to tell the difference between a real person's writing and an output from GPT-3. In fact, you can have an entire conversation with GPT-3 and GPT-3 will respond as if it were a living person. And so I have quite the unconventional interviewee for this assignment. I want to ask GPT-3 about aspects of my prior writing assignments, both the learning narrative and cultural artifact. In that regard, I want to prioritize questions about what it takes to maintain healthy interpersonal relationships and how one can keep organized and free of distractions in their day-to-day life. Perhaps GPT-3 can provide unique insight that most people would otherwise miss. Now, it's important to note that GPT-3 is not capable of speaking nor sentience. It was trained on billions of publicly available data points from the internet. Regardless of the outcome of this conversation, just know that I gave it a prompt to begin the interview, and it's not capable of an original thought per se. You could just as easily give it a prompt to write a story about an ice cream man, and it'll do that just fine, and it won't question it whatsoever. It's not sentient, but it is really, really cool. Without further ado, let's begin the interview. So, I'm going to go back and forth between what I wrote, and I'll show that on the screen, and what GPT-3 decides to respond with. I will also be adding a text-to-speech synthesizer for GPT-3's responses, but just know that these are not generated by the AI. Alright, let's get started. Hello GPT-3. My name is Redacted. I would like to interview you for a class project. The purpose of this interview is to provide insight for interpersonal relationships and organizational strategies, respectively. Is that okay?
Yes, that sounds fine. Let's begin.
I'm glad to hear. Relationships are complex and riddled with ambiguity. How do you suggest that humans maintain lasting and healthy relationships?
There is no one answer to this question as every relationship is different. However, some tips for maintaining a lasting, healthy relationship include effective communication, showing respect for your partner, being supported, being able to compromise.
How about non-romantic relationships?
The same tips for maintaining a lasting, healthy romantic relationship also apply to non-romantic relationships. However, it is also important to maintain healthy boundaries in non-romantic relationships and to respect each other's space and privacy.
Let's say someone doesn't follow those tips. Let's say the friendship or relationship turns sour. What should they do, if anything at all?
If a friendship or relationship turns sour, it is important to communicate with the other person to try to resolve the issue. If communication is not effective, it may be necessary to distance yourself from the person or to end the relationship.
I see. Thank you for the insight. Let's move to the other topic I wanted to ask about. Humans live in a world full of constant distractions. Whether they've received a notification on Instagram or stay up late until 3 a.m. playing video games, they are constantly connected to the most distracting invention known to man, the internet. How does one disconnect from these distractions to keep themselves both organized and focused?
There is no easy answer to this question as it depends on the individual and their personal level of self-control. Some tips that may help include setting regular hours for internet use, disconnecting from social media and other distractions when you need to focus, and keeping a list of tasks to complete so that you can stay on track.
Are there any specific tools and strategies you think would work well for most people? I personally use a tablet called Remarkable, which only has note-taking capabilities. What do you think works best?
There is no one tool or strategy that works best for everyone. What works best will depend on the person's individual needs and preferences.
Could you give a more substantial answer to my question, perhaps something you haven't already said?
There is no easy answer to this question as it depends on the individual and their personal level of self-control. Some tips that may help include setting regular hours for internet use, disconnecting from social media and other distractions when you need to focus, and keeping a list of tasks to complete so that you can stay on track. Additionally, it may be helpful for some people to find a hobby or activity that can serve as a positive distraction from the internet and other electronic devices.
That's all the questions I had for this project. Thank you, GPT-3, for participating. Before I end this interview, was there anything you wanted to ask me, a human?
No, I don't believe so. Thank you for interviewing me.